Hey guys, welcome back to SCG Collects. I'm Annie. Welcome back, guys. So as you can see, I have quite a lot of figures in front of me. And that is because for today's video, I thought we could take some time and talk about prize figures. So these are all the prize figures that I have in my collection. Since I got most of them before I really started collecting, really started this channel, all that kind of stuff, I have not had a chance to really share these figures with all of you. They haven't been in any of my monthly hauls or anything like that. So I thought for today's video, we could take some time and just kind of take a look at the prize figures that are a part of my collection. So first and foremost, for anyone who is kind of new to figure collecting, maybe you don't know all the lingo and terminology, when we talk about prize figures, these are typically cheaper figures that I believe a lot of times are literally used as prizes for like those crane skill games and things like that. So they are non-scale, usually a cheaper quality than scale figures would be, all that kind of stuff. But they can also be a really nice way for someone who is maybe just getting into figure collecting. Maybe they don't have a lot of money to spend. They can be a nice way, a nice starting point for, people in that position. So, that's basically what we mean by prize figure. Figures that are, cheaper, non-scale, less high quality, compared to other figures. Now I will say as kind of a side note, I don't know if some people consider Pop-Up Parade, as prize figures. For me personally, my understanding is like pop-up parades are supposed to kind of fill in between prize figures and scale figures. I think some people would argue, at least at this point in time, are they really doing that? I don't know. So I don't have any of the pop-up parades that I own that maybe I have not previously talked about in this group. And honestly, I think there's only one anyway, so whatever. So yeah, as you can see, prize figures kind of are where I started figure collecting, like a lot of people. To tell you the truth, I don't really know which of these came first. If I had to guess, I think one of the first ones would be the Sailor Saturn figure. I believe this one was made, I think it says on the base here. Yeah, so this is a Banpresto prize figure of Sailor Saturn. And I've actually just recently learned that, I think Banpresto or, related companies own the copyright to Sailor Moon. So that's kind of why you don't see a lot of, or any scale Sailor Moon figures, is because the copyright or trademark or something is held by a prize figure company. Don't fact check me on that one. I don't know if that's true, but it would explain a lot. And it would explain why the only Sailor Saturn in my collection is a prize figure. Even though Sailor Saturn is my number one, best girl, there's just not a lot of options out there. But this one is one that I do remember I picked up at a convention. Honestly, I think it might have been my very first ever convention, which, side note, I cosplayed as Sailor Saturn in a handmade costume. It looked like garbage. I'm not showing you pictures, but that would also be part of the reason why I wanted something Sailor Saturn. So yeah, this, I think, was one of my very first prize figures. And in terms of prize figures, it's not terrible. They did a pretty decent job of getting some of her little details in here, like the little, brooch on her bow. They actually tried to kind of paint the star on her choker, things like that. And overall, the paint job is, not terrible for a prize figure. So, kind of a pleasant surprise as far as prize figures go. So, speaking of figures that I picked up at conventions where I was also cosplaying the character, the other one that fits that bill is this Aizawa figure. Now, this one is a Bandai or Bandai Spirits. He is part of, I think it's called like the Heroic Spirits line or something like that. He was like volume 6, so I don't know if that means he was like the 6th one released. But just like Sailor Saturn is best girl, Aizawa from My Hero is best guy. Also, when I picked up at a convention, as I said, I believe I was cosplaying him the time I got him. So very similar to Sailor Saturn. Overall paint job is not terrible for a prize figure. The pouches on his belt are a little messy, and the gold on his goggles is a little messy. But then, the overall sculpt of him I think is really nice, and I do like that they took the time to, even like paint on the scruff lines of like his 5 o'clock shadow mustache thing going on. So again, I think he is a character that at this point doesn't really have any scale figures. Now I think that is changing. I don't know if it was during Spring Wonderfest that it was announced, but I think a company is doing a scale of him, which, if I'm remembering that correctly and that happens, will probably be an instant pre-order for me, because I would like something higher quality of this guy, even though this is a pretty decent prize figure. So in addition to conventions, another way that I have ended up with some of my prize figures is actually through like subscription boxes. So I used to get this subscription box, I think it was called like the Kawaii box or something, and I got it every month, and it was supposed to come with like 5 to 7 cute Japanese goods, with like Sanrio and cute Pokemon and Sailor Moon and Cardcaptor Sakura. So actually 2 different boxes I received had Cardcaptor Sakura figures in them. And so that was actually kind of nice, like holy cow, I'm getting a whole figure out of this sort of monthly subscription box of Japanese junk that I get. So the first one we have here is Sakura in her school uniform. This one is by, the bottom says Kodansha. So again, not the worst of prize figures. I think they did pretty decent on the sculpt of her clothes. Like, they got the pleats in there. The face on, I can't think of his name right now, but his face is actually pretty decent. Like, I have seen, like, cheaper figures or even more expensive figures, where there was a tiny thing and the face looked all jacked up. They also got her little like school crest on the sleeve, so that was really nice. But there is some like sloppiness to, for example, like the red paint line going around her skirt, things like that. But overall, pretty nice little figure of her in her school uniform. And then the other one that I ended up with is in one of her costumes. Oh my god, this makes me nervous. Okay, so this one, it does not say on the bottom. I can't remember who the manufacturer is for this one. But this is actually one of my favorite prize figures that I have. I think for a prize figure, there's really good detail. I mean, they you know, even threw in this cute, like, background of stars to go with her. It's a really cute pose. Even though there's a lot of, like, little detail in terms of, you know, having to paint all these, like, skinny red lines on her skirt and stuff, that stuff actually turned out pretty nice. And the staff even is done pretty well too. So, you know, for a prize figure, this is definitely one of the nicer ones. I think one of the higher quality ones, in terms of, you know, just paint job and details and having a pretty cool sort of background and all that stuff. So I actually really, really like this one. And like I said, it was just like a random thing in this subscription box I got. So very, very pleasantly surprised, especially looking back at it now, that I know more about figures and all of that. So next couple that I picked up, so Asuka over here, I believe she is by Sega. She is from Sega's, I want to say it's like the PM line, which is supposed to be just like slightly higher quality prize figures. So this is her with the Spear of Longinus, however you say that word. She has a pretty cool base. It actually has the Nerve logo on it. I don't know if you can see that there. And, you know, I think they did a pretty decent job on her paint as well. Not too terrible, even with, like, the tiny lines in her plug suit and everything. You know, not super detailed, not a lot of shading, anything like that. But I actually picked her up this past January, at the first convention I was able to go to, like, since COVID started and everything. And this is right when I was starting to take a true interest in figures. Like, it had been so long since I bought figures. To me, buying figures was something that you only did at conventions. I was like, I really, you know, I'm going to buy a figure at this convention. And this was still before I understood why, like, some figures are $100 and some are $300 and some, like this one, are like $60 or $70. You know, like, I just thought people were price gouging. I didn't know the difference. So that's why I splurged on her. And I say splurge in quotation marks because, you know, now I spent significantly more on figures than her. But at the time, I was still like, ooh, you know, like, that's a lot of money. So my compromise was to splurge on this one. And then, you know, once I got her home, I started wondering, you know, like, wow, like, there's all these figures, and, you know, does she have, like, a matching Ray? Like, what is all of this? So I searched by brand, you know, the Sega, PM, whatever. I didn't really know what I was looking at. And it turns out they do have a Ray. So I got the Ray to go with her. And this is actually my one prize figure that I am, like, truly disappointed in. I was so excited to get her. I ordered her through Solaris. You know, I think that's the first time I used Solaris to buy anything. Because I wasn't, you know, familiar with ordering from these different figure sites. But I bought her from Solaris. I think she was like $50. Supposedly, like, brand new. Now, I will say she is a bit of an older figure because I think she's based on the original Evangelion series versus the newer movies. But when I got her, I just felt so... I don't know what the word would be, but, like, for example, she has these weird blue stains, like, on her knees, on her sides here, under her bust, kind of in her hip line, and then, like, on her back and behind her knees as well. And I don't know if that really shows up on camera, but that's, like, one of the major things I'm unhappy about. And I don't know if that was an attempt at shading. I don't know if just over the years, if this figure has been, like, sitting somewhere in its box, if something happened. But I'm really unhappy about that. And then just the paint job, even compared to Asuka, who, like I said, is technically like the same line as this Rei, the paint job is just not as clean. Again, I know it's a prize figure, but you know, when you have two figures that are from the same company, kind of the same line of figures, I guess you would expect that the paint jobs to be comparable, and they really weren't. So, not really happy with this one at all. But for right now, she's the only Rei in my collection. I am looking forward to getting the Reis that I have pre-ordered, because I do have a few, and hopefully they make up for kind of the disappointment that this one was. Yeah, so after I got Asuka at the convention in January, and I started to take an interest in, like, oh, like, what are these different brands? You know, what does it mean that this one's a Sega and it's like a PM and it says all these things? And as I started to learn about all this stuff and I ordered right online, it kind of clicked in my head, like, hey, wait a minute, you know, like, buying figures doesn't just have to be something you do at conventions. And so that kind of opened the floodgate a little bit, and I started ordering some figures online. So the first, I think these guys are the first three. So these three right here, actually these two I ordered through, honestly, Amazon, which looking back now is probably a really dumb thing, but I got lucky and they are legit as far as I can tell. They're not bootlegs. But then, I want to say I got her through the Crunchyroll store, maybe. So the Rem and Ram, these are the, who are these by? So these are both by Taito or Taito, Taito. They're from like the Pretty Figure line or something like that. And I do really like both of these. I think the details on their little outfits turned out really, really nice. There's like a nice pattern kind of imprinted into their tops. The little ribbons tied around their sash look really, really nice. I think the hair is nicely done, and the, you know, hair ornaments are nicely painted. Even the little ribbons going around their stockings are really nice. And then they have these really cool bases that are shaped like cherry blossoms. So something unique and different, and very cute. And I think they match really well too. And then the Echidna, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, you know, also from ReZero. This is her relax time version. This series is made by Bandai Spirits. I think Bandai has a lot of like these relax time versions, not just from like ReZero, but from a lot of different shows. So I thought she was really neat because she comes with this chair, like it's, and her head comes off. Anyway, so she comes with this chair that, you know, obviously you can sit anybody on this, I guess, but it's for her. And at the time that I ordered her, you know, I was still watching ReZero. So I think that's part of the reason why I wanted to get her. It's not terrible. I think her face is a little weird now, kind of looking at it. And her, like, loungewear that she's wearing, looks a little bit like a trash bag, just the way the finish is on it. But I don't, you know, again, I don't think it's the worst prize figure. And so I'm not so upset about her. She wasn't, again, super expensive. And I also have a, scale figure of her coming in a couple months, so that'll, you know, maybe make up for any poor quality for this one. So the last couple prize figures sitting here in front of me are, of course, the Mikus. So this one is another one that I ordered from Amazon. Again, looking back, probably a very risky idea. But this is another one by Taito or Taito, whatever. One of the Sakura Mikus, I don't know what year it is, because I know there's different years. I want to say maybe 2021, but not 100% sure. I got her because I love the concept of the Sakura Mikus. Like, I love, like, cherry blossoms as kind of an aesthetic thing, and just, like, the plant, the tree itself. So I really wanted a Sakura Miku. So this one, out of the ones that I was kind of looking at, and even some of the ones I've seen since then, at least in terms of the prize figure ones, I think this is a really nice one. I think her pose is cute. I love that she's holding this flower in her hands. The one thing that bothers me is, like, the pink of her hair, and then the pink of her outfit, and then even, like, the pink of her shoes. They're all kind of slightly different tones. And I don't know if that was done on purpose, or if somehow all the different pinks turned out different. I think it would have looked nicer if there was some consistency to the pinks, but what are you going to do? And then just like the Rem and Ram figure, she also happens to have a cherry blossom figure with like blossom petal decals on it. So cute little details there. And the final prize figure we have, and also the most recent, is the BiCute Bunny Hatsune Miku. I forget what this one specifically is called, because I know now there's like 3 or 4 different BiCute bunnies of Miku. Like, I think there's some where she's in like a white outfit and different things. But this is one of the ones in the black outfits. I am obsessed with her. Like, even still, I think the BiCute Bunnies line is an awesome idea, especially for people who are maybe interested in getting into bunny figures, but don't want to pay, the prices for freeing and binding for their quarter scales, or even, I think there's like 1/7 bunnies of some characters out there just by different companies. And of course, scale figures, even 1/7 size, can be pretty expensive. So I think the BiCute Bunnies line is kind of a cute idea, or a nice compromise to that. Right now, I think there's only maybe like 4 characters that they're doing BiCute Bunnies of. So Miku's one, and like I said, she's got 3 or 4 designs. I think Super Sonico's had a couple, or maybe just like 1 design in color variations, and I think Rem and Ram have had BiCute Bunnies. Hopefully, if the line stays popular, or is popular, I don't know how popular it is, that'll persuade the company to expand to other characters, because I think this is a great way for people to kind of get into bunny figures without first spending a ton of money. Her ears are falling out. One of the neat things about the BiCute line is that they do have actual fishnet tights. Now, the seam line up the back is fairly thick, especially when compared to some of the more expensive bunnies, but being on the back, I don't know that that's a huge idea. And then for this one specifically, I just thought her whole design was so adorable. Like, her pose is so cute. I love the giant, like, buns in her hair. The way they kind of brought in her tie, and she's got like the extra bunny ears in the back, which I don't know if this is supposed to be some kind of headphones thing or something. And then her expression is just adorable as well. So very, very happy even still with this one. I don't know. I think she's just so cute. And I love her. And I've seen some of the other BiCute bunnies, at least like pictures online. I don't know. I think they're definitely worth it. Great price point. Like, I think she was maybe over $30, but not by much. Or I could be completely misremembering that, so don't quote me on that. But still, compared to any of the other bunny figures out there, any scales, very, very nice. And her size is nice too, especially for like a prize figure. So, alright guys, well, that is going to do it for this video. Thanks for sticking around and listening to me ramble about my different prize figures and where I got them, and I guess in a way kind of talking about how I even got into figure collecting to start with in some ways. So, again guys, comment down below, let me know, do you have prize figures, or maybe is that most of your collection? Is that how you got started in figure collecting? Are you still collecting prize figures, especially if you've moved on to scale figures? Leave some comments below. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. And I will catch you guys next time. Bye!